Welcome to the Homeworkers Network. Now, we've not had a show for 2 weeks. And the reason for that is that all the hosts of the show, there's 4 of us, have been exceptionally busy with work and some personal stuff as well, because I was in Tenerife, not last week, the week before, on business. And unfortunately, I had a close family bereavement. And I'm from Manchester and live in the southeast. And the moment I got off the plane, when I returned from Tenerife, I literally had to drive to Manchester. Which meant that I missed the following week's show as well. So I do apologise to our live listeners and watchers who are watching now, and those who watch the recordings after. Sorry that we've had a break for 2 weeks, but unfortunately, the truth be told, we do play at this whole blab thing. And our personal and work lives obviously have to take a priority. So I do apologise that we've missed 2 whole weeks. And actually, I've been getting separation anxiety. I don't know about you, Phil, from Blab, because I absolutely love Blab. I think it's a fantastic platform. And I see it having a very bright future. What about you?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's just trying to find its feet, isn't it? I mean, the technology, I think, is amazing. I'm one of my ways of planning. I'm planning to use it, of course, is to do recorded video interviews, including you, my friend. So don't think you're going to be able to escape. You will be pinned down somehow.
No, in fact, when we finish this today, we'll get that in the diary.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a great platform because part of my background is I've been interviewing people on video, doing video interviews with people for over 10 years, as you know. And this platform is just perfect for it because you can lock the seats out. So, people, and then you can let people in if you want to towards the later in the interview. People can ask questions. It's all free. I mean, at the moment, I don't know what it's been like recently, but certainly as we're sitting here at the moment, the clarity of the video is brilliant. There seems to be no lag or no problems
I think that does depend on your broadband. I think that does depend on your broadband connection, to be honest. I mean, I use Blab a lot. I use it a hell of a lot, not just for our show, but I also with some of my clients who are making very good use out of it. And it does have its issues still, but it is still in beta, as it says there in the top left-hand corner. But in general, it is very, very good. And the way I liken it, I suppose, is to almost like a radio call-in show, because what other platform allows you to allow your listeners and viewers to literally call in and offer their input on a particular subject, a bit like a call-in radio show. I mean, I'm an avid listener of LBC, London's Biggest Conversation, which is a national show now. It's a talk radio show. They talk about, the top stories of the day and debate them live on air, not just with specially invited experts and guests, but also their audience. And I think that is brilliant. And this allows, I suppose you could call it the democratization of the internet.
It takes it to a whole different level. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what have you been up to, Phil?
Quite a lot, actually, recently. I think I told you perhaps last time I spoke to you that we were launching a new division of Geeky Group, which is called Content Rules OK. We've just got our first client for Content Rules OK. We're just finalising a course which is specifically around leadership, but with a bias towards the issues around communication and the ability to communicate, which is such a critical part. Got the first client we've got. Wait for this. This will give you a smile. Hairdressers.
Right. I have a hairdresser as a client. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't get a deal. It's like can't get mates rates or anything. It's hopeless. Unless he's a wig maker as well. Actually in Manchester, funnily enough.
Right.
Yeah, they're very keen to.
Where in Manchester are you, Phil?
I'm in Worsley.
Oh, I know.
8 miles west.
I grew up in Worsley, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
what. The first house I ever lived in was in Worsley.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when I'm in Manchester, because I'll be there next week, we have got to get together for a coffee.
Sure. Brilliant.
You know what? It never even occurred to me.
Well, that's because
that?
I'm just the fourth or fifth thought in your busy world.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry.
In
fact, I literally drove past Worsley as on the M60 to my mum's in Prestwich, or the M62. What is it now?
It's the M60. The M60 is basically the Manchester equivalent of the M25.
The ring road, yeah.
Yeah, and then it turns into the M62 about Warrington and goes off to Liverpool, and then it turns into the M62 at just north of Prestwich, and then it becomes M62 and goes off to Leeds. And
so, are you actually in Worsley?
Just on the edges, really. A place called Astley.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, because
most people know Worsley, so I tend to just call it Worsley. Because
if you know Worsley, our house used to be on Broad Oak Road.
Yeah,
right by the woods.
Yeah, grew up there.
Yeah, phenomenal. So I'll be there next week for the funeral, but I'll be there for several days. So I'll definitely we'll definitely hook up and have a coffee, mate.
Sure, that'd be great.
Right, excellent. Yeah. And
we will do coffee because neither of us drink.
That's true. Oh yeah, you don't drink either, do you? That's it. Yeah. So what exactly, if you don't mind me saying? I mean, I know it's probably very much in the early stages, but what exactly will you be doing for the hairdresser?
Well, in the first instance, it'll be getting a plan together, and then it'll be producing some video. And doing more active content development for the Facebook, engaging content rather than, do you want to buy me shit? The kind of thing, our mantra.
Yeah.
There was something else I talked to him about as well. He's not got Instagram, so we're going to get him on using Instagram. And then possibly as well some offline stuff to try and get people into the salon.
Is it a cool salon?
Yeah,
right.
It's upmarket, cool kind of place. It's not. I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but it's not some little backstreet in Bury kind of place. It's more your, Oxford Street, OK Darling type of place.
Right.
More upmarket, I guess.
Right. Well,
I think it probably pampers mainly to the probably the professional and business community in the centre of Manchester. So obviously there's a lot of accountancy practices there and hotels and stuff like that.
One of the things so this weekend, hey Marcus, how are you, sir?
I'm very well indeed. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you, mate. So Phil, I was just going to say this Saturday, so the hairdresser I work for, again, is a very cool upmarket hairdresser. And what's very unique about this hairdresser is that the salon, which is really cool, he designed it in such a way that all the pods where the hairdressers work wheel out of the salon and opens up the space. But also uniquely, he is the only hair salon that I'm aware of in the UK that has a fully licensed cocktail bar in it.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what he does is he has regular events there to entertain his clients, potential clients, and that type of thing. So
what are they called? What's it called?
It's called Glow Salon. They're based in Camberley.
GLOW.
No, GLO.
GLO.
Right. So I had the idea that what we should do is one of the events that he does, which we do once a quarter, and it's called Glow Unplugged.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we do is we invite. Just hang on a minute. Lucas is trying to join the seat. I'll let you in a minute, Lucas. So what we do is we invite a locally unsigned artist to play a half-hour set at the salon. So we move all the stuff out. We invite a load of his friends and guests and customers and all that to the event. The local signed artist plays a set there, but we live stream it on YouTube. Fantastic. And the idea being is that, it just opens up the salon to the community kind of thing.
Brilliant.
Generally, the unsigned artists have their own followings. So obviously it helps push the reach out of the salon to the local online social media and all that sort of stuff and community. And it works very well. We're on our fourth one now. And the next one is this Saturday, which you'll be able to watch. So just look out for the hashtag Glow Unplugged. So
is YouTube doing live streaming now in the same way that Meerkat and
they've been doing. They were the first to do it. They have a thing called Google Hangouts on Air.
Right. Yeah, I know of that. Is that still going then? Is that still?
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sure if it had had its day,
No, it's still going.
They were kind of ahead of their time, really. I think that was their problem.
I've got a call, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Sorry.
No worries. So, Lucas, if you want to jump in now, join the seat. Got some questions you want to ask? It's Lucas. I can't see him now. He's gone. Never mind. Hello, mate. Marcus, how are you doing?
I'm all right, my man. All right. Not bad at all. Challenged, but...
You're always challenged, you are, mate. I've never met anyone so busy.
That's nuts. I'm not that busy. I can't possibly claim to make that. I'm not curing cancer at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I have certainly been making life a bit difficult for myself, I think is probably the truth of it. When you need to organise yourself, and put things into perspective, I think is the right way to see things. And I suppose sometimes because of the nature of what we do, I know that some of the marketing gurus out there have dubbed it the shiny squirrel or whatever, but there are some amazing things going on in the world, right? And, dealing with some things that you perhaps find, for want of a better word, boring or, not as exciting. Sometimes you sort of put that to the back of your mind, and then it becomes a huge problem. So as you will appreciate, those of you out there who catch up with maybe this on a replay or whatever, this is the Home Workers Network. And I think one of the dangers of that is that you aren't necessarily always in an environment where you're being driven like a horse, to do something. And therefore you do have the choice to do things as and when you think you work best. So for me, for example, I'm trying to reset my internal clock, and work not as late as I sometimes do, because trying to fit in the family life on top of your work life and all that stuff. And also, I don't know how you're getting on with your walking or your running.
All right, actually,
still on it. Well, I've been on that bad boy for that's been my new. Well, I say new. I mean, it's been in my office for as long as I can remember, but it's been a clothes horse for a lot of the time. And I decided, actually, courtesy of as the Fitbit, that it's quite ironic, actually, because under normal circumstances, the normal Fitbit band, which I can't even find, is I think a bit rubbish. When you put this little device that attaches to the Fitbit in and out of it, it sort of broke. I mean, this is it. This is what it amounts to. That coupled with the app, of course, to measure your gains. And over, I think, just before the Christmas period, I'd have this busted strap, so I wrote off to Fitbit using their chat facilities, I might add, which were phenomenal. I really appreciate it when companies have sort of online chat opportunities. I just find it so much more efficient.
Yeah.
Anyway, they sent me this by error, and actually, I found this kind of Velcro strap vibe to be the best. It's really, really convenient. So I don't know what it was made for, something bigger. So I got a bit MacGyver and I stitched it together so that I didn't keep losing this thing. But yeah, so I've been enjoying that. And as of last night, I mean, I'm really enjoying the kind of the challenges that you can get. So I've had colleagues of mine who I used to work with I'm getting a ping saying, Marcus, you're going to join this work week challenge. So it's how many steps can you get for the week? And again, it's not a crazy subject, home working, as I pointed out to these guys, I mean, the difference for them is I'm seeing at sort of 8 a.m., these guys have done 2,500 steps, right? I'm just grabbing coffee or something, you know? So, you know, I've got 10 paces between my office and my back door. That's not enough. And for me to go out of my way to actually bring that energy into my day, you know, I have to actually go out of my way to do it. And this really is making the difference, you know, and the cross train is great for it. So, yep, really loving that, and just trying to get my fitness vibe back on, you know.
So when I was in Tenerife, every single day I went for a walk stroke run. And what a lovely place to do it, to be honest, on the seafront there. So it wasn't, I didn't need much motivating while I was there to do that. And I didn't miss one day other than the day I was leaving, because it was a morning flight. Or rather, I should say, I had to be at the airport in the morning. And when I got back, I had to go, as you know, I had to go to Manchester. And I did quite well there. But since I've been back from Manchester, I got back on Sunday, I've not been for a run stroke walk. And the reason being is, I don't know how I've done it, but I've hurt my back. And I think it might be that when I was in Tenerife, the place where I was staying, the apartment I was staying, had a memory foam bed. Mm-hmm. And when I was at my mum's in Manchester last week, she had a memory foam bed.
Okay.
And the only thing I can think of is that I've come back to my own bed, which isn't memory foam, because it's only since the first night of sleeping in my own bed that my back started hurting the next day, and it's bloody painful. So I don't know what. I suppose you get injuries like that, which stops you from exercising. But
well, you know, is this you caving under your own weight, or is this you needing a memory foam bed at home? You know, maybe that's the gig. Maybe, you know, I mean, it's tough. I really sympathise. I've told you maybe when we last spoke, I bent down to pick something up, you know, innocuous item, and felt this pain that I've never felt before in my back. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I'm too young for this. It took me out. And my next door neighbour, ironically, is I think you call her a masseur. She's a physiotherapist. And, you know, I asked her, is it possible for groin strain to jump to back pain, right? And because I don't know, quite frankly, it sounds ridiculous to me, but she said, actually, yes, it is. You've got this kind of cross shape across your body, the lower part of your body, and you know, if your posture's not right, or if you conduct yourself in a certain way, then it throws this out of whack, you know. So these are things you have to deal with, and it all counts, you know. You sit on your butt. You saw when I started this call, I was on the stand-up desk, and I thought I'd not have everybody looking at my ceiling. So I sort of reduced myself. But the whole business of whether you stand up or sit down, it can really change the nature of your day entirely. It certainly does mine.
Right. Yeah. But so although I've not managed to exercise, so in all, since I started my, let's say, healthier lifestyle, I've lost 8 pounds.
Really?
And that's not pound sterling. That's stone weight.
That's good.
Yeah, and I do feel a lot better for it. Really do. But I really do miss the exercising. And when I weighed myself this morning, I haven't put on any weight. So that's a good thing, even though I've not been exercising.
So tell me,
you know,
am I looking at Paul Deach on your T-shirt there?
You are.
What's going on? Are you branding yourself there, buddy? You like the new Sean John? Am I going to be seeing your stuff in the supermarkets next?
Chance to be a fine thing. No.
Quite classy.
In fact, I'll stick a link. Hang on. I'll put a link in the comments to my blog, because there's an interesting story behind this T-shirt.
I'm looking forward to hearing it. You almost blushed there for a second.
Right. So, anyway, one of my clients is the National Rifle Association. And this T-shirt is the official team T-shirt of the Australian shooting team, the National Australian Shooting Team.
Okay.
And when I was covering a competition last summer, which is called the Imperial, it's the world's biggest and most prestigious shooting competition.
I think I saw some footage of that.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I had this Australian fella come up to me. I was getting out my golf buggy, which is what the NRE give me to transport myself around the National Shooting Centre during this competition.
All right.
Because I don't know if you know, the National Shooting Centre is enormous. If you imagine an average size 18-hole golf course and times that by 4, that's how big the National Shooting Centre is.
Wow.
Gigantic.
That's big.
Right? So they give me a golf buggy to transport myself around. And this fella, getting out the golf buggy one day, and this fella with the strongest Australian accent you can imagine, said to me, "Here, mate, you owe me $20,000." I went, "Pardon?" Anyway, turns out that so I've covered the shooting competition for it'll be my 3rd year this year. They've booked me again for this year,
Right.
This summer. And the first year I covered it, I did this podcast series called Sounds of the Range. And basically what that is literally, because generally what I do is go around and interview all the competitors and all that sort of stuff, right, for the NRA's podcast channel. But I decided just for a bit of fun, because, you know, the shooting community are a bit of a strange bunch, if the truth be told. And I can say that because I'm a member of the shooting community. So I'm allowed to say that.
I'm not saying it to him, that's for sure.
But basically, I did a recording of, just for a bit of fun, really, of a rifle range in action. So that's the chief range officer calling out his commands, telling people to get in the shooting position and get ready to shoot, and the audio of the shooting itself. And that podcast got more plays than any of the other podcasts, and it was worldwide as well.
Wow.
And it was such a success that I decided to do a series called The Sounds of the Range, and that series still exists now.
How bizarre.
Yeah, and anyway, this guy, Neil Gibbons from the Australian shooting team, had not shot for 30 years, or not shot competitively for 30 years. And it was that podcast series that inspired him to start shooting again competitively.
Nice.
From Australia, and worked his way up in the space of a year back into the Australian shooting team, and actually managed the team as well. He was the team manager.
Okay.
And to get back into shooting with a new rifle and all the kit and the cost of going from Australia to the Imperial, his transportation costs and the hotel and the car hire and everything equated to 20,000 Australian dollars.
Wow.
And if you go on my website, there's a link there. It tells a story of that. But while I was in Tenerife last week, my wife FaceTimes me and says, "Oh, a package has arrived to you from Australia. Do you want me to open it?" I went, "No, I think I know what it is. I'll open it when I get back." And it was this.
Nice.
Because he did tell me that he was going to send me something with a handwritten note that's making me an honorary Australian, which I'm very proud about. But professionally, actually, I consider it to be quite a pivotal moment in my career as a social media consultant, because that story, for me, epitomizes what's so powerful about social media, especially that the internet doesn't have any boundaries, really.
Certainly doesn't. No.
You know, and you can literally reach people and inspire people from at the other end of the world. I mean, he could not be any further away. And that social media had an impact. And so I'm very proud of that, yeah. So that's the story behind this T-shirt.
Well, fair play, and a good story it is too, for sure. It's you're right about social, though. I mean, it's it never ceases to amaze me, actually, the connections you can make. And, you know, when I first, just prior to Blab, I was very into Periscope, and I haven't done that for the longest time, or even observed a Periscope in the longest time, which is a shame in some respects, because some of the individuals that I met during that period of time, you know, I stay in contact with offline, which is bizarre, you know, and of course I'm part of their mailing lists and all these kind of things as well. So, you know, that was a very short space of time, really, those months. And if you extrapolate that out,
I still watch Periscope, but there's only one person I watch on Periscope, and that's a certain person that you and I both mutually follow on Instagram. We won't go into that right now.
I won't make. That's funny. Oh, hilarious.
No, that's not true, actually. A friend of mine from the Surrey Wildlife Trust, James who is the business development manager from the Surrey Wildlife Trust, he uses Periscope quite a lot.
I mean, it's a great engine for uniting people and sharing ideas and having a rant, and I think it comes back down to something I've been talking about with certain people that I deal with. It's like knowing what you're using social media for. If you've got the right strategy on Periscope or Blab or whatever platform that you're using, I mean, you can really I imagine, certainly elevate your business and your brand more than anything else, because people kind of get to know the real you, who you are, what it is you represent, what you stand for. So I think that's it's no small thing at all. I've come to realize a lot of people who were using that platform initially perhaps for sort of very self-promotional reasons have now called that right down, and they're doing very different things now, which is
well, it takes, like anything, any social network really, I don't think there's any exceptions to the rule. No. You've got to be consistent, and it's something we failed on in the last 2 weeks. My fault. But something we failed on with this.
Life gets in the way though, Paul.
We've got to be consistent.
Yeah, life gets in the way, and I think yes, you're right, but on the other hand, there's a lot going on out there in the world. There's a lot of stuff for people to contend with. There's a lot of information out there, and I think it's arrogant almost to assume that you deserve a portion of that in some way. Do you know what I mean? I think that this is why when we used to talk about content is king, it really was almost just a buzzword. But I think the reality now is that there is so much good stuff out there, not to mention the things that people are actually genuinely concerned with. You said it when I took the call. Busy at the moment, blah blah. I've got a huge list of things to do. I'm sure you have your business, and again the audience will also. And this sort of time, taking this time out to kind of put your head up and step away from all of that for a moment and see what's going on out there is important. Just like anything.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now let's get on. I said we're halfway through the hour. I'm going to ask you what's on your radar tech-wise. As that you're the top tip guy, there's got to be something on your radar that I've not spoke to you about. I mean, I've got to say, Marcus, that you are single-handedly responsible for the vast majority of my software and app expenditure. So,
very good.
Go on. What have you got?
To be honest, I've tried to slow down a little bit. There are perhaps, I think. Today, it's actually a hardware thing for me today. It's my latest purchase that arrived.
Cool. What are they? Headphones?
They're a ridiculous pair of headphones. No, they're not Bluetooth. They come in a snazzy case. They're kind of over-the-ear ones. I'm wearing them as we speak. They're kind of, proper in-ear shenanigans. These are the RHA T20Is. I'm embarrassed at the cost of these things, quite frankly.
Go on, how much?
They are 190 quid.
What is there? I've spent more than that on headphones.
The problem is
what's their unique selling point? Why did you buy them?
I bought them because I got fed up with going through lesser headsets. I mean, these sort of Apple shenanigans here, these are 60 quid. These are I think they're called the EarPods. I'm not sure if they're...
No, they're not the EarPods.
No, the EarPods are the ones you get with.
I've got the EarPods, but yeah.
These are the ones up from that. And
the in-ear one.
That's right. Yeah. These are fantastic. There's no question. If you're looking for sort of they're not low budget. They're very, very good. They're great for sound quality and everything else. But now these are maybe the second or third pair of these that I've had, and it's this business right here, and that's really frustrating. And there's nothing wrong with them other than, of course, because it's activating the phone for Siri and all these things, and I really use that stuff in a big way.
Can I just say, Marcus? If those are not more than a year old, I've had Apple EarPods that I've bought that have done that, and I've had Lightning connectors that do that too.
Yeah, I'm having Lightning.
And I've taken them back to Apple and said, "Come on, flipping it! These should last more than a year with the average wear and tear." And they just swap them out, no questions asked.
I would love that to be the case, but unfortunately, being as how these are the second pair, the first ones were faulty. The issue with all of these manufacturers, including Apple, is that they activate the warranty on your upgrade, as it were, within the scope of the previous purchase. So, these are outside of the original year's guarantee, and therefore there's no changing these. And the option was buy another pair, which is, when you're knocking at third pair, I mean, add all of that up, and you know what? Let's go with something slightly different. And now these have a couple of different filters with them. I don't know if you can see those just inside here. So you've got there's a treble and there's a bass in case you want it. I'm wearing the sort of in between at the moment.
So it has a hardware graphic equalizer, basic graphic equalizer, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you've got the noise cancellation, which is great. You've got the sort of curl around the back of the ear shenanigans, so that's not so in your face. Not sure I'm really loving that, but we'll see how we go. But I think what's for me the most important thing is really the sound quality. I'm very, very sound sensitive. I listen to a tremendous number of podcasts at triple speed. I don't even have time.
So it's got to be good sound quality.
Yeah, it does. And I've had enough of messing around now. So I just thought, you know what, bite the bullet, get them, stop. And I deliberated for a long time about that.
Right. Well, that's that. I've got a headphone story, a recent one, but that's not my top tech tip.
No.
And in fact, my top tech tip is something that I haven't even taken delivery of yet. In fact, it's not even been manufactured yet.
Wow. What's this?
Right. And I'll show you that in a minute. I'll copy and paste a link into the comments. But a friend of mine recently invested in some wireless Bluetooth headphones. And they were the Beats, the Apple Beats ones.
Dreadful.
Yeah. The sound quality in those things are bloody rubbish. I don't know why anyone would ever buy them. And they cost him a significant amount of money as well. I think they were well over £100, if I remember right.
Got some. Rubbish.
But the unique selling point to these earphones is that, so they do have wires, but there's a little sort of remote control bit there, and they're joined by the wires there, and that is it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this remote control, you plug into a micro USB, which charges it, and that's the power. And it's Bluetooth, so you can connect it to your iPhone. And the idea being is that when you go running or out getting exercise, the wires are not getting in your way.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, yeah, I like that bit, but I don't want to be spending $100 on Beats, especially when the sound quality is so poor.
Yeah.
So I looked up on Amazon to see if there's any for Bluetooth ones. And they had these they were copies actually of the Apple EarPods.
Okay.
So the molded earpod ones.
Yeah.
The bits that go in your ear look exactly like those, although they're not Apple. And it was a Bluetooth, same situation. And these were 19 quid. Okay. Now, all right, the sound quality is not brilliant, but I don't listen to music when I exercise. I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So and I listen to those podcasts at normal speed. So it's not important about that, you're getting Dolby surround sound, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they're great for the exercises, but that was, I just thought I'd just tell that story. So there are alternatives out there if you're not after the ultra high quality. You don't need to spend that.
You surely don't. I mean, this is me at the end of a very long journey. If I opened a drawer full of headphones, I'll tell you, I spent a long time. I mean, to be fair, the ones that I have some, what are they called? I think they're Sennheiser wireless indoors. I actually rate these are the digital wireless ones. I actually rate the ones that were, I don't want to use the word analog, but they used to be like on, whatever, you figure it out. But these digital ones are okay. You can go quite a distance around your home, but if you've got thick walls and things, sometimes you have a few problems. Whereas the other ones that I had, they were just a lesser grade one. They were certainly less expensive than these ones. And I've had these for a few years. But, I mean, those ones, I could cut the hedges. I could walk to the store at the end of the street and still hear what was going on. They were incredible. But actually, on the top tech tip front, one top tech tip that is, unfortunately, does have a cost this week is something that I'm not sure that you use, and I'm not sure that I have a massive amount of use for it, although I did find a great use for it in the last couple of days. And again, it was to shorten my productivity, increase my productivity by shortening the timeline it took me to do something. And I know a lot of people out there hearing this replay will automatically go, oh, I know what he's talking about. And that's Text Expander. Have you heard of it? Text Expander?
Yeah.
I think it's by Smile Software. Now, I had a huge project to to create a whole host of social media nuggets, as it were, things that were going to be shared. And it was using very repetitive language in a couple of places, and a very long-winded few expressions that remain critical to the campaign. And after 100 times of writing that stuff down here and there, you're like, what's this is not going to work. So I had a look into TextExpander, and look, I have resisted this for quite some time because I felt that, number one, you have an iOS desktop cost, and then you have a separate iOS device cost, so for iPad or iPhone, which is frustrating. And I prefer it when they will charge you an amount and you're happy to pay that amount and use it across all devices. To me, that makes sense. I think it's kind of almost penny pinching to do it any other way. Nonetheless, I think TextExpander is it's been a really good thing to use. It really worked out quite well for me the last couple of days. So, if you have an opportunity to go on and use the demo, it's worth a look. If like me, you just needed a bit of a nudge, and this was the one occasion where I thought, Marcus, bite the bullet, because I'm sure it saved me hours. I've just been able to type in EEW and get a long chunk of text just banged out. Was just awesome. Really appreciate that. So TextExpander.
Fantastic. Welcome back, Phil. If you haven't already guessed, we're talking about top tech tips. Which is what Marcus and I do, really. We could do whole shows on this stuff. In fact, I'm hoping that he's going to agree. I've been trying to get him to do a tech show with me, but his time is a premium. But have you got any tech tips, Phil, that you can think of?
No, in all honesty. And I was thinking even before the show, but I'm not iRobot like Marcus, so I'm kind of,
they've always got to have a reason, Phil. I mean, I do sort of worry. Do you know what I mean? It's funny because, and on that note about going to Apple, I had cause to replace my phone. The most frustrating thing in the world when you live in Nottingham, because the Apple store is either in Sheffield or in Birmingham, which is not any small distance. There's a significant amount of back on that time vibe. That's a lot of time. It's not just the travel, it's the hassle, it's the waiting around and all that stuff. So a little tip for you guys. If you ever have a Mac issue and you really don't want to be sitting in a 2-week waiting list, you have to show up at the store before it opens up. Because Apple being Apple, send some guys out into the street and say, so you look like you're waiting outside, can I help you? What's going on? This is before the store opens, which is amazing. And they will book you in. And that's the only way that I was able to get a slot. And lo and behold, they replaced, for the first time, the screen on my iPhone because it had a fracture in it. This time, that fracture, can you imagine how frustrating this would have been for me? So I go to use my phone and I'm tapping and I'm swiping and nothing's happening. I can see everything, but it's like the screen is just glass and not doing what it should do.
Sounds like torture.
It was a nightmare for me, I'll be honest. It really, and the thing is, I would have waited, and that sounds dreadful, but I would have waited. Apart from that, you hear me talking about workflows all the time. I realised just how critical that is. The fact that I will hit a button on here, and I will go to Drafts, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned before, is a very simple, plain text app called Drafts. And the thing about Drafts is I'm trying to get into sort of not plain text, but Markdown. Have you come across that? You heard of that?
Mm-hmm. Markdown language, yeah.
Right. So I don't use it much, but I'm trying to get into the idea. If you don't know about this, it's really just using a series of simple commands that when you send to HTML or some other page, it then puts in all of the kind of annotation and whatnot for you, bold, italic, or whatever. But it's
WordPress uses it a lot.
Yeah, and also Evernote, by the way, Paul. So it's quite useful for me to just kind of like take some text. And the coolest thing of all, actually, about Drafts is that you have the ability to set up kind of instructions. So, for example, if I were to go to a plain page and then I dictate a whole load of stuff on there, I can then hit a button, go to what I've denoted as my work file, and there will be a series of instructions as to what I might want to do with this page. So I can send it to Chatter, for example, which is an internal group at work. It might be me informing a bunch of people within a particular forum about some things, and that may be what I chose to do. And what do I want to do with that note afterwards? Do I want that to just live on my phone forever? No. I want it to go to Chatter, which means I want it to send an email to myself so that it knows what to do with it. Then I want to send it to Evernote so that I've saved what I've done. And then I want to delete it from my phone. But I don't want to do all of that. So bang, back into workflow. I can tell Drafts to do all of that in one action and call it this, please, and put that into this folder called work. So I've got a whole bunch of these. You guys are already thinking of the word that I'm struggling to find there. But it's like a workflow right there. And I'm saying, okay, these are the different actions that I want to undertake. So I've got them for all sorts of different things. And they're really, really useful. So I use Drafts quite a bit. And now to not have that ability all of a sudden, it was like, oh, okay. So let's think about what that means. It means that you go to your iPad. Luckily, I did have it on the iPad. But all of a sudden, you're using perhaps Notes, which is the yellow notepad thing, which I agree, Apple have done a great job of copying the people they needed to and bringing it up to spec. So it's a much better solution now. You can draw.
It's not as good as Evernote, though, is it?
Different weapons, I think. I mean, you know, I sat on the phone for maybe half an hour trying to explain to my mother yesterday how to scan a document and send it to me. It was. If I had hair, right, proper hair,
brain damage.
All this, it would be gone. It was.
I do that with my mum. Yeah. Brain damage.
You know. So in the end, it was just take a picture. That's all you need to do. I swear it was the most frustrating thing in the world, but you got to love them. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on out there in Techland. I'm looking forward to the latest updates for Apple that are going to happen in the not too distant future. And of course, they're talking about new tech there as well. I don't want to be too tech focused. I think sometimes that can take your eye off of what you're trying to do with it. But
I think I think we'll be getting a new iPhone in March, but not how we imagine it to be. So I think what they're going to do is, if you imagine the iPhone 5S, it will be an iPhone 5S. The rumour is they're going to call it the 5SE.
I think that'd be ridiculous.
No, I think it's a good idea. What they're going to do, all they're going to do is, well, the 5S is an incredibly popular phone.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is they're going to take the guts out of it and bring it up to spec so that it's ready for the latest operating system updates. So you'll be able to do Apple Pay on it. So for someone like my wife who absolutely loves her 5S and doesn't want to change it, but is missing out on some of the latest features because the hardware is not up to it, it will work well for her.
Well, I think, you know, I don't know, I'm not a bean counter, but sort of, you know, I reckon somewhere in one of these bean counter rooms, somebody's got to be saying to themselves, is this the right thing to do? How much is this actually going to cost us? Okay, you know what, let's do it because it's going to make us an extra X. And I think it kind of dilutes. Now, you may have noticed big news out there in Evernote land is that that organization, Phil Libin, who was the CEO of Evernote and needed a bit of a slap. You know, when I first came across Phil Libin, I was impressed by a CEO who was talking about wanting to run an organization, run a company, build a company that the motto was that they want the information to live for 100 years, right? That was the whole thing about Evernote. This will live way beyond you.
You'll have to pay your subscription in advance for 100 years in case you pop your clogs. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, to be fair, even if you didn't, at least it would remain, and that was cool. Now, Phil Libin, I don't know if he was just lazy or a geek or whatever, but ultimately he did some really crazy stuff. He wasn't the guy he could have been. I'm sorry, Phil, if you're listening, but you know what? We'd be lucky if he was. But the fact is, he wasn't the guy, I think, even by his own recognition. Now, they've changed the CEO, whose name I can't really be bothered to learn because I'm not sure how long he'll be there. But what he has done is loads of people have left. And this is just big company stuff we're talking about here. And now the latest news as of a couple of days ago is they have closed the Evernote marketplace, which is the silly place that was selling socks and pens and Moleskine. This is just diluting the brand, right? Now, with Apple, if there's one thing I like about them is they know very firmly who they are and what it is they're trying to do. They know what products they have. What concerns me about these kind of annual, we must produce something for this year, is that they end up just, and we saw this with the 5C and all that nonsense, is they bring something out that really isn't that good. And I think that maybe, I understand the kind of,
it might not be that good. It might not be that good, Marcus, but the simple fact remains that although you might not think the 5C was a success, it actually was when you compare it to the number of phones that other manufacturers sold. Now, take Samsung Galaxy out of the equation. That's a different animal altogether. but it sold more phone. That 5C, they sold more of those than they sold the Nokia Lumia. They sold more than the Sony Xperia. They sold more than the Microsoft whatever.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
while you may not think that it was any good, you know, a lot of people disagree, because the thing is that you and I, who have to have the latest tech, this is a 6S Plus,
Right.
you know, and I have 2 of them, by the way. You know, we're not normal to the average user, right? So
one cracked and one not.
Most people just want to go in there and say, right, I want to be able to do a few apps. I might want to play Minecraft, or I might want to do this. I might want to do that. They're not interested in some of the features that you and I are interested in. And what Apple have done, I believe, they've created the fewest amount of phones to serve the widest possible
I agree with
spectrum.
you on that. I agree with you on that. And I think this is what I mean about the bean counters. They sat there and gone, oh, look, there's a gap in the market. We can make X if we produce one of them. And it doesn't matter if it bombs, because we're still going to do X. And to your point, we're going to wipe out these, and these people, because they've not got it going on in that area. So that, I think, is a great idea. What concerns me, however, is for us. It's the people, like you say, who are at that level, not a question of cost, but who are looking for that thing that makes this.
We're power users. We're power users.
Yeah, agreed. But
I'd call you guys what's kind of known as early adopters.
Yeah.
You guys are early adopters, and therefore, and a relatively small market, as in the laggards who will come kicking and screaming years later, are a small market. The main markets are the masses in the middle, as Paul says, and that's who the bean counters, and particularly the shareholders, will be interested in. And I do tend to think that simplicity is becoming more and more important for the mainstream, because, you know, something I talk about a lot about that. People's time is being so squeezed now. People haven't got the time or the patience or the inclination to be going into the detail to use things. They just want to be able to get on it and use it quickly and easily.
No, you're quite right, Phil. And the other thing that Apple do, which is actually very clever and quite stealthy in the way that they do it, because most people don't realize this is what they're doing. But when they release a new phone, like, for instance, the 6S Plus, which has a new technology, which is 3D touch or Force touch, whatever you want to call it, what they're doing is they're actually beta testing a technology on power users like you and I, Marcus, because they already know 3 or 4 years in advance what they're going to be doing. In fact, they're already developing their phones. You know, they're manufacturing, when they release this at 6S, when this is sort of being delivered to us, Marcus, they're already producing the 7. That's already on the production line.
Yeah.
You know, the components.
What's going to go in the 8, you know. Yeah,
exactly. And what they do is they know they're getting these phones ready. They incrementally update them and beta test them on power users like us, ready for the 2 or 3 iterations ahead, and see how we use them.
I have a question for you, Phil. Are you a Mac user or a PC person?
I'm a PC person. Well, yes, I'm a PC person. I've got 2 iPads, and that's my Apple experience. I think because I'm an old man, I think probably I grew up with Windows and grew up with PCs. And the honest truth of it was, again, I just couldn't be bothered learning new stuff. The iPad I thought was brilliant. But interestingly, one of the things I've got a kind of a big question about right now, which you guys probably can't help me with, or maybe you can, is that Windows 10, of course, came out, and my computers were automatically asked, do I want to upgrade to Windows 10? I upgraded my laptop, Sony Vaio laptop, to Windows 10, and it knackered all the speakers up. The sound coming out the speakers sounded like AM radio, but in 1927. It was awful. And speakers are important for me, because when I'm doing presentations... That
would have sounded good in 1927, by the way.
They would, yeah. It probably would. So of course I freak because I plug my speakers into the laptop when I'm doing presentations at events and stuff.
Right.
So I went straight back to I think it's Windows 7. But I've read a few times about Windows 10's really good and all the rest of it. But I'm very nervous about it now. You know, one of those things where you have an experience and you think, well, is it really that good? Is it worth the hassle?
How old is your laptop, Phil? How old's your laptop?
About 2.5 years.
That might be the problem.
I'm not sure it is, Paul. You know,
God, oh, my 2.5 years.
I know, but the thing is that these operating systems, right, are very processor intensive, and what you might find is that I mean, I don't think that's the problem with the speakers. By the way, that's just a bug, or
probably just Windows 10 in itself. This is a problem with all. Yeah. As I have understood it, with all Microsoft updates of any kind, you know, they are ones to just kind of ship it, right? They just ship it, and they've done the most they can do, and they tweak it later. And to their credit, they hit the market that way. Whereas I don't know whether there was that question coming from you, Phil, sort of deep down here, is it really worth the change, that type of thing. But certainly, I remember when I was making that switch. I can tell you, I mean, you know. Never let it be said, you know, there's some people out there in replay land. Actually, I can't say this; it's too crass. But let's just say, on some things, when you go one way, you never go back. You heard that one? Okay, well, it's exactly the same thing with the Mac for me. I mean, I have a.
Once you've had Mac, I'm sorry about this, Marcus. If this is inappropriate, but once you've had Mac, you never go back.
Well, you could say that.
It's as simple as that.
You could say that.
Thomas in the audience has said that your problem, Phil, is to do with the drivers, that they've not been updated for the operating system. And I suspect if you do a search, you'll probably find an update there somewhere for your driver. So you need to find out who manufactures the speakers, whether they're Realtek or whatever. Yeah. Find the drivers and just update them. I would imagine that's all you need to do.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? It's having
We're 9 minutes away from finalising this, and I just wanted to talk about my top tech tip for the week. And this is hardware as well. What's interesting about this top tech tip is that it hasn't even come off the production line yet. And how I found out about it, because like you, Marcus, I followed CES and what was going on there. In fact, I might even go next year if I can find the time. Might even go to CES next year. But I was watching on my Twitter feed all the stuff to do with the media type hardware to come out of CES. And this came out and I bought it there and then. It's the first time I've ever bought something that doesn't even exist yet. Right. But it will exist, and I'll be taking delivery of it at the end of April. And it's called Get Movi. Now, Movi are well known actually for, or the company that make these cameras are well known for their live streaming service that they offer. Quite well known in streaming circles. Okay. And they've made a camera that is so exciting for me if it works. Particularly with the work that I do, not just professionally, but also in my capacity as a local authority councillor. This camera is amazing, and what they do in very simple terms is they utilize 4K so you can digitally zoom in on your subject, on various subjects. So imagine you've got a panel of 4 people at an event, and one person's talking. You can digitally zoom in using an iPhone as your kind of media suite, your production suite. Say, right, I want to stick the camera on Marcus. And you can point on Marcus. It automatically detects your face, and it will digitally zoom in on you. Or you could pan across the panel if you wanted to.
This thing moves by itself?
No, it doesn't move. It doesn't move. It's all done digitally. But what's interesting about it is that Ken Burns Zoom is exactly it. James. Yes, that's exactly how it does it. Ken Burns is a digital zoom. Ken Burns was a video editor, very well known video editor, and he's the one that developed this technique. And we're going back years and years. And basically, when you do these adjustments while you're filming live, it then creates an edit at the end of the recording, so that when I finish my recording, it's already edited. I haven't got to mess about. Yeah. And now I can either live stream that using their service. I can live stream it on YouTube, or it comes with a memory card. I can save it to the memory card and then upload that myself to whatever service it is, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, whatever, afterwards. I'm really excited about this product if it works. I imagine being the first generation. I imagine it being, because it's the first generation product of its kind, it will be full of bugs and all that, but I'm willing to go through that process because I'm that excited about it. So I bought it while CES was still on, because I saw something on Twitter.
That is a true definition, Phil, of early adopter, if I ever saw one.
Yeah. Like I said, early adopter.
That's phenomenal.
But the interesting thing is, if you look at the price now,
the
price now is $299 if you buy it now,
which is not mad.
Okay,
compared to some, is it?
No, it's not. But so $299 if you buy it now. If you wait until it actually is developed and comes off the production line, it'll be $399. But when I bought it during CES, it was $199.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Well, so that's supporting the development of the tech, and I think that's a good thing. And ironically, I was taking the mickey out of you for being an early adopter, in exactly the same way. I've just posted it here. Yesterday, I invested in the TapLock, which I've put the link there for. And I'm amazed this isn't already available, quite frankly, but it's using fingerprint technology on padlocks. Can't see where I'm necessarily going to use it, apart from the gym. But they had two versions. They had like a full-on version, and then they had like a mini version. Now, Phil and folk like you'll be screaming at me thinking, what the hell is wrong with you, man? You didn't need this. And you would be right. But what's great about it is just the future, right? That's what I'm buying. I'm buying the future, because here we have this thing.
I thought it was garlic bread.
Live stream, that's it, James. Yeah.
The thing that's cool
Sorry,
about
go ahead.
The thing that's cool about this thing is it's not just a padlock. If you try and attack the thing, it alarms. I could give you access to it, so I could lock something, and then for whatever reason I can't get there, you can get there. I can transfer access to you via an app, and you can then open that padlock. It's just some crazy stuff, which I think, if it, like you said, if it works the way it's supposed to work, I just think that the implications for where they go with it, it's a bit like all of the apps and the things you can get on these phones, and the add-ons. If it goes where we imagine it could go, the Gene Roddenberrys of the world were just, geniuses when they thought of tricorder.
Well, this was absolutely. I say over and over again to people when I talk about technology is that we are actually living in the future now. If you look at Star Trek: The Next Generation and some of the technology that they developed, that they had in that TV show. So you take as an example the replicator. We have 3D printers right now. The tricorder, we have iPhones now that do a lot of what the tricorders do in the show.
Absolutely.
We have video communication. It's very exciting. And just to talk about that TapLock thing, I did see during CES some interesting products to come out, like for instance Mortis locks and Yale locks. Yale have a product that you open using your Touch ID on your iPhone.
Right.
The problem is, though, that this stuff, I think at the moment, if you in some communities, wouldn't last 5 minutes because they'd just be ripped off the door. They had these really cool smart doorbells.
Yeah. They had like a little tiny screw that was holding it on the door. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I know.
It's going to get nicked.
Yeah,
it's going to get nicked.
They called it the security bolt, right? And it was literally a little tiny Phillips head screw that held this thing on. Yeah, nuts. But
I do sometimes think, though, guys, that we do live in an age where it's about technology looking for an application.
For the sake of technology.
Oh, we are definitely. The technology's there. You take the iWatch as an example. They've released that. That's another. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about how Apple are using their customers as beta testers. no one's really come up with anything mega compelling app-wise. Everybody I speak to who has an iWatch says, yeah, it tells the time great, but don't actually have a real use for it.
It's pretty much a Me Too type thing, and they're going to bring out the
next generation one. I think then that it will.
Yeah, but
there'll be more. I still won't buy one.
No, me either, and that surprised me. But actually, in the end, for me, it was like, to what end? And they very cleverly.
It's got to have a use.
They very cleverly put me off with the £200 straps, right? Had they, I mean, it was already an expensive device, but had they not tried to take the P with a £200 strap, then, I don't know how many dollars that is for you Americans out there, but either way, it just turned me off entirely. And I'm glad that I didn't go there.
Okay, gentlemen. Well, we're an hour in. I'm going to end this now. Fascinating talking to you. I'm going to stick around for the after show if you two have got 5 minutes. And if there's anybody here who wants to jump in and say hi, James seems like an interesting guy who's in the audience right now. Thank you very much. We'll try for a show next week, although I don't know when my dad's funeral is yet. But as soon as I do have a date, perhaps one of you two could take the gauntlet while I'm in Manchester. But I'll pause the recording now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you this time next week.
Pleasure.